that when we are ready to do it, we do it in a way that really honors the depths of what happened here. And this was the 30th going into the 31st. So if you would imagine, in the middle of last night, to wake up around this time was around when it was kind of dawning on everybody. By the time the news had already come, and right, because this was 2015. You guys remember 2015? 2015, guys. Right? Does that ring a bell? That was the summer of Black Lives Matter, right? That was what created the rallying cry. Too many visible things were happening over and over and over that we had to see and make sense of, and then there was no sense of it, right? It was happening over and over and over in 2015. And in 2015, the rallying cry that quietly started in Pasadena, like a year and a half before that, kind of took a national stance, and people sought those ladies out that were saying, hey, why do our lives not matter in the function of this systemic operation? Why does it seem to me, or to us, or to so many people, that it's very cheap, right, to have a dead person, you know, as in operation, and then the operation excuses it as part of the process, right? That's what that was the point of what the article that came at the conclusion of Shakespeare's situation. The article I wrote that was entitled 3 Years Later, right? Where I try to make sense of the pattern, right? That's what I kept on seeing over and over and over again, right? So in 2015, as people were saying, whoa, what's going on? Do Black Lives Matter in the function of this operation? Is this hierarchy so separated from the top to the bottom that if it's happening to you in the bottom, then you have no recourse, right? That question, which brought that rallying cry, didn't hit us until June of that year. Or, I'm sorry, this would have been May 5th of that year. That was when Brendan Glenn died, right? Well, yeah, I don't want to make it sound so passive as if, you know, that's how they want to make the COVID sound. The COVID's supposed to be you just died of the COVID. It seems like you got killed of the COVID to me. But interestingly enough, I don't want to get diverted. Getting killed in that way came close home to us in Venice, where we couldn't ignore the conversation either, right? So it was happening all around us in 2015, and it happened right here at the ale house over there. And when the videos of that once again, we didn't control the videos, even though these videos and cameras are all in the public space, but the public didn't control those, right? And the mayor got a chance to see it, and the police chief got a chance to see it, and they assured us by what they saw that there was going to be some justice, some accountability, and we could rest assured when the time comes, you know, whoever did this will be held responsible. Right? This was what kind of calmed everybody down in 2015, and we decided not to be more insistent in holding folks accountable, right? So a few months after that, this would have been now in August, right? So going from April to August, Shakespeare as an activist, right? So this is the next time the summer of Black Lives Matter touched us here in Venice, right? Shakespeare, an activist, hung out here with me, right? This was a late night chill out in Venice. The weather was beautiful. It was just a Venice night, right? So I had a little herbs, and, put a couple joints in the air, and I sat right on that hill talking to a young lady that was staying in the Cadillac Hotel, while Shakespeare and some other friends continued hanging out here, right? And somehow the attention and the energy just, even from there you could see something was going on, right? So what was going on was there were a few people lined up against the wall, right? So that night, the night of the 30th, was a big coming out for the Cadillac, right? There was there was a big party that was featuring some artists, some, not from the boardwalk artists, but some people that, hey, I'm not going to hate on the artists, that's getting their shine, right? Because they had nothing to do with this, but in that moment of trying to feature the Cadillac, the thing that bothered the owner of the Cadillac so much was that there was people sleeping along the sidewalk, right? You couldn't let my night to make the artist shine bright enough when there's bums all over this, right? So he brought his security guard out to run these guys out, right? So Shakespeare and the guys hanging out here, having a chill Venice time, see this going on, because Shakespeare had just gotten housing. He used to live in his car, he started working, right? So he's trying to have his Venice dream. He's trying to, as a writer, he even believed his skills can have him be a ghostwriter for somebody who's got the stage presence and the delivery, right? Because he knew that the world could use his writing from however he could get it to, right? So this was his hustle. His hustle was to work the game in Venice and then, give himself to the world, right? But also as an activist. He used to show up in some of the meetings. You would see him at some of the matters where the homeowners are trying to put ideas together. And we would need other voices in these things. And when we tell 50 people to go, right, David Bush would note that 1 or 2 people would show up, or 3 people, right? And Shakespeare was one of the guys that sometimes would show up. So he knew the rules enough to understand that you can't just tell somebody to get off the sidewalk if they're leaving 3 feet of space, right? So that was his intervention, to tell the security guard that, yo, you can't run these guys off the sidewalk just because they're sleeping on the sidewalk. If they're leaving room, they're allowed to be there, right? And the argument ensued, and the threats went out, and at some point, the armed security guard, from what the witnesses said, because I was too far to be a first-hand account, but being my friend, I mean, because, I was the last guy the guy hung out and smoked with, right? This was, right? So I've since understood things more intimately. And as a result, it kind of hurts more because it shows you the senselessness of it all, right? So at some point, it seems from the owner's directive, the security guard pulls a gun out and starts shooting, right? So the shots that fired hit a guy, like near here, like a shot ricocheted, caught somebody in the leg, right? So from that time, Shakespeare was still alive, so he's still like, what the hell is going on? So now the commotion, now my attention can't stay over there anymore. Now we have to come over here and wonder what's going on, right? So in all of this, the person, somebody totally unrelated to it all, gets hit with a shot in the leg, right? This was Trini, right? So he's got a bullet in his leg and he's bleeding, right? So when I come over here and I understand that this is happening, I would say there has to be at least 7 minutes going on from the first sets of shots to the next confrontation that created another sets of shots that ended up getting him killed, right? So at this point, there are cops right there, Was it the cops or the security that shot? This was the security guard of the building here. This Cadillac Hotel. Right? I mean, this was 2 sets of shootings in one incident, spaced by about, I would say, 5 to 7 minutes. And by the way, the video of all this is captured at the Candle Cafes, right? So in piecing it all together, that's one of the things that I had to see, and it was really hard for me to kind of take a look at this as well, right? But basically, at this point, we were asking again, why is it so cheap for people's lives to matter? Yeah. So if here 5 years later, we're remembering Shakespeare. Hey, remember Shakespeare, everybody? Right? And we're remarking he went through a period where in the whole country, the rallying cry became, what the hell, does Black Lives Matter in the operation of this systemic function? Now we're here in 2020. And I'm asking, just from the people gathered here, what have we done since then? And have we felt like there is any measurable improvement from that moment where this rallying cry came to be, right? And don't forget, the rallying cry did not come to be in 2015 because things necessarily was that much worse in 2015, right? What was happening in 2015 was a strange confluence of people being able to document things and people being able to see it, right? But the numbers didn't show any big jump for us to have asked in 2015 the thing we could have asked in 2005 or in 95 or in 85, right? So what I'm saying is, if we're seeing so much, right, in our vision is 2020 now, right? And it's too clear to ignore.